Are we live?
Well, we're
live. We're live.
How's the tea?
Delish. Good.
It's what did I say? It was lemon and something or other.
And lavender.
Lavender and
chamomile lavender.
Oh,
that's a good. It's a good one.
Stunning. Kid Carson,
what's up, man?
Thanks for coming to my shack,
dude. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for the warm tea.
Well, it's the least I can do.
I rode my scooter here, so this was I was freezing, but my face was kind of, when your cheeks just feel stiff.
Yeah.
From the wind.
Yeah. Stiff in the wind. There's a song about that.
So this is good.
There is it. Do you have a winter scooter outfit?
No, I was not properly dressed for picking up my scooter from the impound, where it was towed.
Which I was surprised that scooters are towable devices in vehicles here in the city.
I thought I just forgot where I parked. I came on the street. I'm like, I swear to God, I parked here.
I thought those scooters, you fold them up and put them in your pocket and take them inside.
I don't know how do they tow them? How does Buster's actually tow a scooter? I'm curious. Like what hook do they use?
Well, don't you think they just pick them up and throw them in the back of the shit?
It's so heavy, but really? Yeah. Anyways, I was very, very distraught. And then I forgot to bring my helmet when I went to pick it up. So then, it's scary when you're on the busy streets of Vancouver with the drivers and it's busy and they're whacking the thing.
Is it?
And you have no helmet and you're like, oh my God, is this my last day on earth? It's just.
And everyone sees you and knows you and they're taking your photo and trying to shame you later.
And I'm ready to get a ticket for not having a helmet. This is very dramatic. So this tea is soothing my soul.
Well, we had a couple of breaths before, but no.
This is good.
I appreciate. No, I'm looking forward to this conversation. You're a name about town. You've been on the airwaves for how long? You've been on the airwaves in Vancouver, either on radio or doing your podcast. Is it 20 years?
I know, isn't that crazy?
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been hopping around for 20 years. It's crazy.
So,
I started very young.
How young?
That's why I look so fresh-faced. No. I got into radio I was 20.
Yeah.
Yeah, 20 years old.
Why did you get into radio?
Yeah. Well, selfishly, I just wanted to be the cool guy.
Yeah.
I wanted to be cool.
Did it work out?
I was just like a young kid, and I just originally I wanted to be a DJ.
Yeah.
I wanted to spin records.
Yeah.
Like when I was in high school, because the DJs were cool.
They were.
And then I was not very good at that. Did a couple school dances, and that didn't go very well. Yeah. So I thought, okay, I could be the talker. So then my friend would DJ and I would talk.
Yeah.
And then I originally wanted to be a police officer, to be honest.
Oh, cool.
I wanted to be an OPP or an RCMP.
Yeah.
That was my dream. And then I realized, wow, everyone hates cops.
Yeah.
Why would I want to be a cop?
Yeah.
Everyone loves a local DJ.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll be a DJ.
Yeah.
So that's what sort of led me down that path. And then as I got into being on the radio, I realized that people were drawn to you when you weren't being the cool guy, when you were vulnerable, when you told stories about, the weird stuff happened in your life. You got stood up on a date or whatever it was. I would tell those stories and I realized, okay, this is where it is. It's not about trying to be cool. It's about being real. And that's when my career took off.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be cool, but then I got into it. I'm like, this is not what it's all about.
So then once you realized that, did you start to artificially lean into that and kind of, because you see this in social media these days with our local influencers and even myself and been there and continue to be there. But once you once you realize that vulnerability is people resonate with it. I know for myself in the past, you can kind of lean too hard on that or kind of push it over the limits or artificially is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Artificially be vulnerable to get a result. Did you ever notice yourself or come across that?
I have sensationalized things over my career because you have to grab attention from people and trying to get ratings. That was the whole game. But for me, I actually found just being just real was probably, and you can feel it, you can feel it if someone's being, because that stuff bugs me.
Yeah.
I try not to let it bug me. I try not to, because everyone's doing their thing, but sometimes you see fake authenticity online.
Yeah.
And even the word authenticity is so used and played up. And oh my God, you roll your eyes sometimes. But I sort of became someone who's comfortable being super real on my radio show by sort of, when I would get in the booth, I would sort of picture myself like I'm a character on a TV show. Like I'd say, okay, people tune into TV shows to sort of connect with a character. Yeah. And so I would actually be more comfortable sharing some of the real raw things going on in my life, more so on the air than I would be in real life to people. Because I would sort of in my mind say, well, if I say something too vulnerable, or if I'm too, and I might not humiliate myself, I can always fall back on the idea, well, it was for the show.
Yeah.
It was for the show. Yeah. Right. So that would always give me a safety net in order to be pretty real. So like there were a lot of things that happened on our show over the years that were so real that I would, like, people were stunned.
So you kind of use it as your safe space, and it just happened to be that there are other people listening to it and gravitating towards the story. But that's what I like about radio and even podcasting, even I guess compared to social media and just doing posts and things like that. Because when you hear someone's voice, there's something about telling if they're being real or not, or if they're faking something or they're hiding something. Do you find that? Did you find that as well? And do you think that's always worked for you?
Oh, totally. Yeah. I actually have I podcast now. I'd much rather do live radio than podcasting, because when it's live and you share a vulnerable moment, it's like, there's that feeling of, and it's true that, oh, you just were in the moment and you shared a thing, and whoa. When it's podcasting, it's like, this is recorded right now. Mm-hmm. So releasing something super vulnerable that's recorded, it's like, well, I'd have the opportunity to cut it out or delete it or not release it. So there's a different dynamic.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I have a harder time, and I've got to get over this because podcasting is where it's at right now. But I have a harder time being as relaxed and vulnerable than I did on the radio.
Oh, because you have the opportunity to cut it out if you say something.
Right.
Even though we agreed before the show that we don't edit either of our shows,
which I love, which is great.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mainly because I'm kind of lazy.
Right.
However,
it takes too long, dude.
Well, it takes like 4 seseconds on it. I mean, it takes literally 30 seconds. It's not that hard. But I mean, I get a little excited when these episodes come out on Tuesday mornings, because I'm like, oh, 17 people are gonna hear this tomorrow, right. and they're gonna get this, they're gonna hear the story. But it's, so that's like, for me, it's like the excitement before the episode comes out. But there is something about live and saying it and having it being out there, and then kind of like whispering or kind of hearing what's going to come back from the audience.
Yeah, no, I agree. So yeah, but this format is so cool because you get to get into it with someone for an hour, half an hour, whatever. So so there's pros and cons between live radio, where interviews are quick and 5, 6, 7 minutes. You're in and out, where you can really dive into it. So yeah, I'm finding my space after such a long time being in live radio. Yeah. I'm finding my way in the podcasting.
Yeah. What do you, you mentioned some of the pros and cons, but what's like another, like, what are you really liking about the podcasting? What are you liking about the setup or the guests or your format or what you're doing or what people are hearing about it? What's a bigger pro compared to radio in the kid show, the kid pod?
I'm just such a naturally curious person. I think you are too. Yeah. Listen to your podcast also. So you have a chance to go down all the different rabbit holes. People will be explaining something and you're like, wait a second, but why? You can go down that. So it's just getting deep with someone,
Yeah, it is. And cool. It's sometimes it takes a little longer. Sometimes it takes 40 minutes. Sometimes it takes an hour. Deidre and I went an hour, 99 minutes. Like we were going, and we were both still lit up at the end. But it's something about like that volley back and forth of both being there, both being present and asking the questions and being curious. Cause like I'm an engineer, so I need to understand enough. But once you understand something, like I'm kind of focused on learning a little bit more about world issues right now. And that's not always
You're trying to punish yourself?
Well, I'm trying to be.
I'm trying to forget about world issues.
Well, I'm trying to be informed and then, also sleep well at night.
I know.
But once you learn something and once you know something, it sticks with you. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of what's fun about podcasting, because if you teach me something and I really understand it and I know it, then yay for me. And if
Mhm.
people are listening that get that as well, then good for them too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you couldn't always do that in live radio.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah. Yeah. World issues, man.
Well,
Be kind to yourself.
it's wild. So how do you handle that? How do you, like, on your show, or when you were on live radio, and there are issues going on that are relevant and we want to discuss and we want to know about them, but I'm a little hesitant until I know at least enough about them and the background and the history and all that stuff. So how do you handle, like, knowing enough about what you're going to talk about versus not talking about it versus just talking about it?
Yeah, good question. It is the magic of being a personality people can connect with is that you have no filter. As soon as you have a filter, it gets murky. So, and people really want to know, like, they want to know how you honestly feel about things. And sometimes there's not time to really do a lot of background knowledge. I mean, if you're preparing a news-driven show, then of course it's a different story. But when you're a personality, you're sort of reacting like how it's feeling. You know, it's how do you feel about something? And believe me, I was wrong about so many things. Like over 20 years, you can imagine. And there's an element of wanting to create a little bit of a divide in the audience, because that's sensationalism is good for ratings. And so you want to polarize. You can't just go on and say that. And that's what most people are doing now, is they're just sort of saying whatever the popular opinion is. And it's like, okay, you're just regurgitating the same thing that everyone's talking about. But if you are coming in with a different take, then that gets people thinking more. So whether they're pro or against whatever the thing is, it could be a parenting tip, it could be a thing about mandates, it could be, anything. I think that's
So you've done
I think that's the way to go.
You've done a really great job with that through your
I was so good I got fired.
So let's talk about that. February 2022.
Oh my God, you have the date memorized?
Yeah, I do. I studied. Yeah.
Was it February 22nd? What year?
2022. I don't know what the date was.
Okay, February 2022. Wow, crazy.
So almost 2 years.
Wow.
Coming up on 2 years. Mandates, COVID. So what was going on then? It was everyone had to say what they were being told to say, popular opinion, and you felt and knew differently that you just couldn't hold it in any longer?
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because you, yeah. So it's a hard thing to even talk about, because I said what I said. I believe what I said. I felt like at the time we'd sort of all lost our minds collectively. Like it just, and you start to look around and going, what is happening? Like, why is there, one family can't go into a restaurant, another family can, or one dad can't take his son to go see the new Spider-Man movie that was out at the time. And and we were all like, okay with it. And I'm like, dude, this is not okay. What's happening? Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just builds up and you go, okay, and you start to feel like we're going down a certain path. Now we've really taken it giantly back to sort of normalcy. Who knows? We might go there again, but it just felt like someone's got to say something. And, I don't know, man, I have such a big mouth. I had to be like the guy maybe I should have played the game more, because, I paid a pretty severe price for saying that.
Your job.
My job. And, I've got kids, and, part of me some days I go, man, that was irresponsible for me to jeopardize, the livelihood for my family. But I don't regret it, but I think that maybe I should have played the game a little more. I don't know. It's tough, man, because it hurts to lose what you love.
Yeah.
And I, as much as podcast is cool, I love and miss radio.
Yeah.
That was a fun thing. That being said, there were a lot of people behind closed doors who like really dug that I said what I said.
Yeah. Well, I remember when it happened, and just really it started and some of my friends have been, saying certain things and me just towing the line. But it's like, oh wow, if someone of influence and knows kind of what's going on is speaking up about this, it opens other doors and other conversations and challenges you to think about the other side. We can all go do our own research and come to our own truths and beliefs and things like that. But it's I think an element of courage has been underlying your entire career, especially up to that moment. Do you
thanks,
agree?
man. Thanks, man. Yeah, I guess I've never been afraid of being judged before, like, because there's that whole element of you suspend reality a little bit. I'm a character on a show, and it's really me. But like I said, I always had that fallback. Well, it's for the show, so you have this sort of safety net of being able to be super vulnerable, and so I've never been afraid of being judged. Because I suspend a reality in that way where I don't take it on.
Because everything that comes out of your mouth, especially on live radio, people can judge you on the spot and all day long. And
of course.
So how did did you always have that armor within you? How did you build that thick skin? Because there's a lot of people out there that may be listening that they have things they want to say or speak up differently to their friends or family or do certain different things in their life with work, but afraid of being judged. I've been there. I continue to be there.
Oh yeah. I would, when I first moved to Vancouver, I was doing the nighttime show at Z95 before I started doing the morning show on the beat. And right away online, there were radio message boards, like blogs or whatever. I think message boards. Is that the right term?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like
people just comment, like Reddit, like a Reddit.
Like ICQ back
right,
in the day.
Right. Yeah. It was like Reddit, but before Reddit was invented.
Yeah.
And oh man, the things people would say about me. And I would race to read it. Pardon me. I would race to read it after every show for like the first month. And it would just crush me because it was people just, who is this guy? Why would he's ruining the radio station. Like, it was just awful. And you take it so to heart and it kills you. And then you just realize, fuck, I can't do that anymore. And you just learn, you build up a skin to it.
Okay. So you just you didn't go check the comments after, right?
Yeah. At a certain point. And then I realized, okay, if they stop talking about me, that's when I'm in trouble. And then I was like, whoa, someone said that. Not to me, but I saw someone on YouTube say that. When they stop talking about you, and I was like, oh my God. Yeah. So like any press is good press.
Yeah.
And it takes a while to build that into your mindset. But once you do that, you're like, okay, I need to get them talking about me if I'm going to get ratings and get people wanting to tune in. So at that point, you're like, hey, I'm a character on a show. I got to say whatever I got to say. And the closer it is to my actual truth, the better it's going to feel. But sometimes you got to be a little sensational, and sometimes you got to, polarize the audience, and you got to play the game. I mean, it's show business, right? It's radio stations need to make money from audience. People on Instagram, on YouTube, they need to get an audience. So it's really about getting attention from people. However, if you can do it in a way that's actually authentic to you, then that's when you.
So what win. This is, I have the perfect person in the chair to ask this question, right? So what's your advice for new podcasts there's some layers here I'm going to lay out to get the ratings, to get people listening, to get people talking, to get people listening. However, I also exist in the engineering world, work for companies. I work with all the, public institutes around British Columbia, City of Vancouver, BC Hydro, like all these folks. So have to be aware of that. Now,
yes.
Yeah. So it's not necessarily like I got to go up and burn down bridges to get ratings, I hope. Or listeners, I hope.
Yeah, I've burned a couple bridges.
Well, luckily as an engineer, you can call me and I will get you a new bridge.
Thank you, Michael. Yeah, I burned some bridges. And yeah, I think that there's an element of knowing if there's a time and place for saying certain things. So I don't regret, but I don't own the radio station.
It's gotta be,
right?
It's gotta be in a, there's even things that I look at on my memories on social media when they come up, the stories, and you see from 3 or 5 years ago, and you're like, I am a complete idiot, right? Mm-hmm. And But if I'm only saying it and only 50 people watch my story back then, like there's no repercussion. But if you're kind of growing up and learning and evolving and growing in a public space, uh, there are more possibly repercussions to things that you say that perhaps 10 years down the line you would regret.
Mm-hmm. There is so much fear in the corporate world of having different opinions floated out there on behalf of your brand. And I wish that there was more support. And listen, there's a reason why radio has become a little bit like watching paint dry.
Yeah.
It's just pablum. It's boring. It's like oatmeal with no brown sugar. Like, let the personalities, all the personalities are now on YouTube or on these other platforms where they can go wild. And I miss that radio, which is really cool. It's still a cool like platform. It's in our cars.
The last time I listened to radio was traveling to the airport in Ottawa back in September from my sister's place. I got an Uber. It was very early morning and it was talk radio. And these people were talking about a date they were on the night before. There were three of them. And it was ridiculous. Like I was like, I asked them to turn it off. I think I was like, this is useless, right? Come on, like
they weren't giving the juicy details,
I'm like,
right?
Come on, yeah,
they're playing it safe.
And maybe I'm old and curmudgeon or whatever, but I'm like, this, like, no, right? Put on some chanting music or something, right? But yeah, it's pretty vanilla and pretty plain because it has to be.
Yeah, I mean, there are some great shows like Kyle and Jackie O out of Australia who are, I think they're rebroadcast in LA now, but like there are some shows out there, but in Canada it seems like we are just so hell-bent on being boring.
So what so back to the question about like how to make a podcast dance. So what advice, like what are you doing with yours? Like are you intentionally doing something and just, or is it just you're being yourself and letting your personality shine through?
Honestly, I'm still finding my way. I really am, because at first when I started podcasting, it was on the heels of this giant spike of new followers and audience that I found from my little, what they call the conspiracy rant.
Yes.
On the 6 o'clock news.
Yeah.
Because I said, maybe the truckers in Ottawa, maybe they're not all racist. Yeah. Maybe that's not a racist march. And that was just too much. And so I'm apparently a crazy person for saying that. And so I did a lot of content based on what was happening at that time. And of course, but I don't want to talk about that for the rest of my life. I mean, I have so many topics I've loved diving into over the years, like especially like relationships and parenting and psychology, and like that's all my jam. Health stuff, health hacks, and I love all that stuff. So now I'm trying to find my way back to talking about
so is it
all
hard
the things,
because you kind of want to get pulled back to that conversation sometimes, at least in the beginning, because you knew that's where the audience was, even though you didn't want to go there.
Yeah, at first I sort of gave my new sort of audience what they wanted, and now I'm like veering off into like more mainstream topics, which is cool. I mean, everyone knows where I stand now on certain things, and it's kind of like a Joe Rogan type thing, Someone called me the dollar store Joe Rogan.
That's not bad.
I was so flattered.
That's not bad.
I was so flattered. It was meant to be an insult. I think it was the guy from Vancouver is awesome. He put in an article, and he's like, the dollar. I think it was him. No, anyways, I don't know who it was, but I thought, Mike, that is amazing to be even compared to the number one podcaster of all time. I'm nowhere close to Joe Rogan, but I like his style where he is firm on certain topics, but then he talks about everything. I mean, the guy talks about, magic mushrooms, and then UFC, and has a great psychologist on. It's kind of cool.
And he's kind of like, he's kind of like me. Right. He's very suggestible too, because he'll get in if he sees a guest who's really into something, like he'll get into it and get very excited about it, which is great, which is fun to watch and listen to. I sometimes find like I get a little bit carried away with that and have to, reel back at the end of the day and kind of see if it all makes sense, because excitement gets me excited as well. Yeah.
I mean, when I have a guest on the show, they might have a wild opinion. Like I'm not here to, maybe you're the same way. Like, I'm not here to like, well, prove it to me. I'm like, okay, let's just go into your world for a few minutes. Like, let's run with it. And then we can all judge at the end of the day whether that person's a nut job or not. Like, hey, but let's get in your mind.
Yeah.
Like, why do you think that? Like, Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So
why am I going to rob the audience an opportunity of diving into this person's brain and chasing the rabbit hole?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not the gatekeeper
Yeah.
of, what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah.
But I am such a curious person. I want to know, like I've had a couple of wild people on my podcast, and it was fun.
Yeah.
And it's like, we're all adults. So if you don't like it, skip to the next episode or go to another podcast but like, we got a chance to talk to this person, and you've got one of the most curious bastards in the world sitting across from them. Let me run and do my thing. That was actually one of the frustrating things about my last days on the radio when I was at Zed, was like when we were sort of in that space of, if you said that you didn't like wearing a mask, you were considered really dangerous. And I'm like, okay, why can't we get people on both sides of the table in the studio? Like, this is what I proposed to my superiors. I'm like, listen, guys, let's get someone who's pro and anti, and to get them on the show and have a really interesting conversation to hear about why. And it was not even entertained, that idea. I'm like, this would be no one was doing it. We would have instantly been the number one show in the city if you could tune in and hear both sides or multiple views of the biggest thing that's happened in our lives. I mean, we were locked up at home. This is a wild thing we went through. Some people are traumatized from it. Why can't we talk about all the different points of view?
And it may be, it's like, who owns the station? Who are the shareholders? Who pays for the station? Which toe are they riding with the government, who has to have a certain message come down? So you can't. Have you read or That's It, I'm Lying, or Ryan Holiday, Catch Me I'm Lying, or That's Yes I'm Lying, or something, or something like that. Highly recommended. He wrote it back in 2012, and it's a lot about the blogging space back then, but it's all still so relevant. It's something I'm Lying. Ryan Holiday. Great book. But I read it recently, and it really helps. At least that book helps tell the story about how you can back then use the blogs to create a fake story, and then link it to another blog, and then link it to another blog, and then it gets picked up by the mainstream media, and all of a sudden this kind of fake story has made its all the way up. All the way up, becomes kind of mainstream media.
Interesting.
So that's kind of one angle.
Yeah.
But now I think everyone these days, and there's not a very easy way to do it, but I think we can all implore ourselves to kind of learn more about mainstream media and what's coming down, especially with what's going on overseas now. And then you can, but it's different now, because you can watch certain accounts on Instagram, and you can see what's going on a daily basis in Gaza, and then you can see the truth of what's happening, and then you can pull up CNN or BBC, and there's no mention of it, and it's a different angle. And then you can go, okay, well, why is that? Why is that? Well, it's the corporate media. They're kind of owned and controlled by the government. Okay, so why is the US and Canada taking this stance? Okay, because they have certain ties to Israel and the Middle East. And that, why is that? Oh, because it's from, historically they needed this and that, and they need a space over there. So then you kind of, if you follow that trail, you can realize what they're putting on their websites it's one manipulation of the truth, whereas over here on Instagram, there are kids getting blown up, and political reasons got us there, but this is kind of the truth here in the now. And if there's something, why isn't the US or Canada doing something, ceasefire to stop this? Well, it's many reasons, but because they don't want to strategically for whatever reason. But people are getting lit up, are getting pretty livid. And this happened, during the pandemic as well. But if you go to the Prime Minister or the President of the United States Instagram pages and their last few posts, if you want to get the pulse of what people are thinking, you look at the comments. People are lit up. And this happened the same thing during the pandemic again. People get lit up, and they're all saying the same thing right now. Ceasefire, 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 ceasefire. Right. So it's a little different these days with the degree of free speech that we have for now.
Yeah. And who knows what's real? I mean, we are living in an information war. That's what it is,
who knows,
right?
with what I think is real, what I'm watching on Instagram is actually real, or if it's AI. So.
I mean, did you see that one post going around last week? Pardon me. It was like it was a car burning, a burning car, and then a cursor shows up and it shows you that it's actually not even a real, like it's just made up. It's AI.
Yeah.
It's and you would never know. And I think a lot of these things, once it's a toy.
Yeah.
I mean, now AI is like a toy on our phone. So once it's a toy on your phone, you know that the military industrial complex has had it for, I always say like at least 20 or 30 years.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm crazy for thinking that, I know.
So how do you balance, because you're curious and you've obviously learned some things and found out some stuff about that. Like, how do you balance, like, once you get down the wormhole and kind of learn this hard truth about the world or the government or the military, and you're like, oh man, that's horrible. I don't trust the government. And like, how do you get up each day? And you got kids too. Like, you got to be a role model, man.
Man, I'm trying to work my way back in the mainstream. I do not need this conversation right now. I know I've gone down all the rabbit holes. The world is a stage, and hey, I know that, and I entertain everything, because then you can decide, okay, what's real. You take the puzzle pieces and put your, together in your mind what's real. But we're being played almost all the time. The world is an actual stage, like with characters and a plot and a script, and that's what's happening. And so I watch it like a play. I watch it like.
But you're in the play. I'm in the play.
I know we're in the play. We're like
we may get cut.
I know, right? Where are we going now? No, it's at some point you can't obsess over the play. We've all gone there with certain topics, and the people that are following the play or the world stage closely, they're just they're going to be obsessed over every new plot twist, and it's being designed to keep us divided, So at some point, for me, I had to pull out and go, okay, you know what? I can't. I need to be a better dad, and I can't have my mind constantly focused on what this politician's doing or that guy's saying or this or that. And I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm just going to let that chill for a little bit, because even when you're over this issue, there's another issue waiting. Before even one issue is resolved, there's a new plot twist, and you're like we're all obsessed about the war in Ukraine, and like that shit's still happening.
I saw a post.
The next thing.
I saw a post yesterday. It was on Facebook. It was like someone was like, "Wait a minute, whatever happened to the Bermuda Triangle?"
Right.
So it's like,
that used to be a big deal.
Why haven't we been stressing out about the Bermuda Triangle?
Right. I know. And I think the human mind wasn't meant to know about all of the things happening all around the world at the same time. Technology is thrown in this place where we can just worry about everything happening. I mean, there are literally hundreds of wars happening that we don't even know about because it's not part of the plot. But there's things happening all over the planet. So, we used to only know really what was happening in our village.
Stay away from the tiger and the snakes.
Right, exactly.
That's kind of it. And we had to stay on guard for that. And maybe someone else was on guard and we slept or went and got food and someone else. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we're not really designed to know about every single horrible thing going on at the same time. Like we just aren't.
Yeah.
So what do you do?
Yeah.
What do you do? What are your practices? What are your
I've lately, I mean, when I was on the air and I felt like the world or the walls were closing in, and like I said, you couldn't take it anymore. Like, guys, what is happening? Well, like I mentioned, why can some of us not leave the country or get on a plane or go on vacation or it's like, what is going on here? We all we can get caught up in the rabbit holes and stress out about it. Now I've sort of taken a step back. I keep myself informed, but I'm not, I'm taking care of my headspace. I've unfollowed so many accounts on Instagram, social media, and it's almost like a buddy of mine, Corey George. He spoke at one of my events last year, And he put it so well, and so many people have echoed his sentiment, which is basically like what's happening in the world. If we go to Crazy Town for a minute, there is like this sort of the ruling class who have a certain way that they are shaping society to go. And it involves like the WEF, the whole thing. You'll own nothing and be happy. Okay, so we're not going to own anything because they're going to own it all. And everything's going to be on a subscription model. Everything, your car, your utility, everything, you won't own anything. You'll pay a fee every month. But when you step out of line and you say something that goes against whatever narrative is hot that day, they just cut off your subscription. It's like, you know what I mean? And that's all going to be tied in with a digital ID and the whole. So that's happening. I hope it's not, but that seems to be happening. No, I lost my train of thought.
Well, irrespective, it was kind of like, how do you handle all the crazy in the world, right? And you've unsubscribed from a bunch of things, and you're aware of it,
right?
I think you're probably doing your part to continue to educate yourself and put out the information and share the information with people that need to know it.
Right. So right, I remember where I was going now. It was sort of like this other team. It's for some of us, it's us versus them. And if you're playing a game of soccer and you want to win the game, you are, and this is going back to Corey George's point, and you want to win the game, if you sit there and just focus on everything the other team is doing, like, how can you win the game? You have to almost forget about what that team's doing and just look at your own players and look back at your team and go, okay, guys, what are we doing here? Like, how are we going to win this game? And the game is your life, So I want to have a great time with my kids. I want to be successful. So it's about taking your eyes off of what the quote unquote enemy, and it's very dramatic, what the enemy is doing, and just focus on yourself. So for a while there, a lot of we're just so obsessed with what is this politician doing? What is Klaus Schwab doing? What's happening? And you get just obsessed with that because you feel like, especially when it comes down to your own personal rights and freedoms being infringed, you start to get a little bit like, whoa, this is like really affecting me. Like I said, Daddy, take me to Spider-Man. I'm sorry, son, we can't because for whatever reason,
we're not kill people.
We're not allowed in there. So it's about taking your eyes off the enemy and putting the focus back on you, your team, whether that's coworkers and you're building something, your co-founders or your family or whatever it is. So that's sort of where my headspace has been.
Cool. Yeah. So it's like, unplug from the matrix and kind of be content and happy with who we are and what we are and what we are cultivating. We're in the system, we're in it.
Yeah.
We know that we're getting played in some spots, but we're also, if I can go down to the beach and jump in the ocean and meditate for an hour, and I don't have to pay money to anyone for now, right? Maybe there'll be a gate up there soon. But if that's kind of a freedom I have and I feel good doing that, I don't need a subscription for that. And if other people like that, they can come do it too. So it's not always being tied into these things or these conversations or these things to divide us. We can kind of be whole and complete as we are without having to buy this or buy that or think this or do that.
It's because it's all about keeping us distracted and divided. And then we are stressed and we're kind of disconnected from our hearts. And as soon as you're disconnected from your hearts, you're sort of you're cut off from like this whole other, magical realm that we live in. I'm a pretty spiritual guy. And yeah, when you're stressed or angry or bickering over something or focused on the negative, you get disconnected from.
So would you say that's kind of your mission now? Your mission purpose is to get the footing with the podcast. You're doing these incredible events with all these really influential and accomplished and really amazing guests and speakers and all of that. So you're using your influence to bring people together and have them, great people, teach other great people. But would you say it's kind of all going, like, how would you summarize that? Would you say it's this element of being whole and complete and having full hearts and even though we're in the crazy town, our little corner of it can be kind of peaceful and great. And if that's if you can if you can use what you have and your celebrity to do that, then that's what you're doing.
I love that stuff. I really do. Yeah, I've been lucky enough to like meet some like Danielle Laporte, who is like just such a legend, and Mark Groves, and yeah, so they're going to come speak at my next event in December. But it's like, when you spend time with these people, you just feel you're connected to yourself. You're like, oh my God, you remember who you are. We get pulled in these different directions. I mean, way back in the day, back in the Beat 94.5 days, I did a couple interviews that I got in shit for because they totally didn't fit the format. But like one day I had Eckhart Tolle in the morning show, and at the time, I think we just deleted all the Britney Spears songs for that hour, and then Eckhart Tolle came in, and like we just talked on the radio for an hour, which is, to me, I was like such a big fan of him, and my producer Amy really worked hard to get that, and it took 3 months to get him to come on the show. But like it was great because it was a voice being heard where it wasn't typically supposed to be heard, like on a pop morning radio show. Having Eckhart Tolle come in and talk about, he literally floated in the room. Like,
what's he like?
Oh, he was super cool.
That is, people ask me what the end game of this is, the podcast is, and why I do it. I'm like, I want to interview Eckhart.
Right? Yeah.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he was great, man.
I believe it.
He was so cool. And like, who else I interviewed that was great? Joe Dispenza, Dr. Joe. I got to interview him on the radio where it wasn't supposed to be.
That's incredible.
But like, that's great because you're hitting people in a place where they're not expecting to hear someone come in and say, hey, I broke my spine and I healed it through meditation. Like, what?
Yeah.
And some people maybe thought that was crazy, but they're going to go home. A seed is planted. They're going to go home and they're going to go, wow, the mind is that real? Like, I should read that guy's book. Like, is that how? Because that's his story.
Yeah,
Joe Dispenza. It's amazing.
All his books are over there. Yeah.
Yeah, you've got a really good collection over there. So like, I've always really got off on that, where I've always been into this sort of stuff, the magical power of the mind and psychology and this kind of spiritual realm we live in. And so I'd always try to pepper that in once in a while into this pop, in between, like, hey, you call now to win $500. Like, I love to mix in.
Namaste.
Right. Namaste. Yeah. So that's always been my jam. And people like really resonated with that. I think we're all curious about that stuff. And if you're not, you will be eventually, because all roads lead to waking up on some sort of spiritual level, whether it's a God for you or whether it's whatever it is. We all have different interpretations.
Now, a lot of people, including myself, have been in this personal development space or spiritual space or talking about the universe and all of that, because at least for me, we hit our rock bottom, or we felt pain or depression or whatever it may have been. So we did it by necessity to somehow fucking figure out how to feel good. And for me, it was the divorce, right? The heartbreak. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, well, I need to do all the things. I need to meditate. I need to read the books. I need to read Joe Dispenza. I need to, Eckhart Tolle over and over.
Over and over. Like, you should see how it's time I pull it out again too, man. To be honest,
it's good to go back, but it was kind of out of necessity. And then,
yeah,
you have these breakthroughs that you sometimes feel better than you've ever felt in your life, and then you sink back down and feeling worse than you've ever felt in your life. Yeah. So has that been the same? What got for you? Was it a more gradual curiosity of being in this space, or did it ever come out of a necessity of wanting to feel better and be better?
Oh yeah, through pain, for sure, man. I really resonate with what you just said. We go through like different weird. Someone said to me like, "Hey man, life is like mountains and valleys. So when you're in the valley, like the only one place to go is up. So when you're feeling like super low and shitty, I'm like, just waiting for that, and then you get to the mountain, and then once you're at the top of the mountain, dude, be ready. There's only one place to go, and that's down. And so that's how I've sort of kept myself in a place where, I never get high on my own supply. Not saying there hasn't been a couple times in my career where I didn't feel like I was the fucking shit. Of course, your ego gets in there and different things happen when you're feeling good. But I've learned that, like, yeah, when you never get too high, never get too low, just understand that's mountains and valleys. And it's that journey between the peaks that is man, that's where suddenly you get spiritual, or you get, into meditation, or you get into growth mode. And when you, like, that to me is like, I'm obsessed with that. Talking to people about that. Like when you say, hey man, my divorce, I had to go to a certain place, I had to pull myself out of the gutter or whatever it was. I love that story, man. Like, cause we all have our own ways of doing it. And whether it's like, there's so many versions of that story for all of us, between the valley and the mountain, and down and up and down. I think that's the coolest shit
cool,
ever.
right?
I think it's so cool, man. When people share that, it's like really, like, it's special. Like you have a bond with someone when they are willing to be vulnerable enough to go, yeah, you know what? This is what I had to do to get here. I love, yeah, I really love that
because
stuff,
it's
man.
life, right?
It's life, dude. Yeah. And it's ongoing.
It is,
like, we're constantly growing. Like, I feel like I'm a new person every 6 months. Like, I look back at, man, I look back at pictures, and I listen back sometimes to little clips of old shows, and I go, oh my God, who was that
But
guy?
I think, and it's same with the memories on Instagram or Facebook. Like, I think that's a good thing, right? Like, I don't even like that from 3 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
That's because I show up in a different way now. And
Yeah.
I mean, that was good. Like, he was doing what he was doing. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to watch it or read it or look at it, but like, good for you.
You want to torture yourself.
But now you're here.
Yeah.
But it's, no, same. It's like growing and feeling whole. I mean, shout out to our friend Tina next door at Sky Studio, who does the light meditation over here. You know what I love about that, and it's 45 minutes under these lights, and you go, like, I've been going since the summer.
I'm new. I've been twice.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Well, interested to hear. Free shout out to you, Tina. We love you though.
We do.
But what I love about it is it's like 1,000 meditations at once. I've never experienced anything like it. But you feel so whole and complete the entire time. You're not thinking about this or that, or feeling self-conscious about this, or wanting to do that. You're just like bathed in the love from the universe and spirit, and you're just full. And the more you go and do it, you remember, like, oh, this is how we came into the world. We're perfect. We're beautiful. We're just completely lit up. So that's what I love about that. And, sometimes can hit it for moments during meditation or at other times during the day. But I think, like, sharing things like that and experiencing things like that and talking like that, like sharing these conversations, I think can be very helpful.
Yeah. And also, like, for some people, like, maybe someone listening can resonate with this, but I used to be really into meditation. I was pretty good at it. For a good year, I woke up every morning and meditated from like 3 till 4 a.m. before, and that's hardcore, but for a full hour before my radio show. And I was manifesting shit. And I would make it so real in my mind that I was shocked. And this took practice. It was a full year. I was shocked when I opened my eyes and, like, I wasn't there. Like, in my mind, I was in this new house, and I could feel the grain in the wood on the floors, and I really, like, was into it. And that all came true. So I fully get behind people who want to, like, manifestation, whatever, it's kind of a trendy word, but it happens, man. If you can visualize something in like 5D enough, and then just pull it till it bleeds enough into 3D, like it exists in another. Now I'm in crazy town. It exists in another dimension before it is here in the third dimension. So it's a bit. If you can hold that thought and put enough energy into it, you can make it happen here for you. However, I found it really hard to meditate since all the COVID stuff. I just found it was just so much trauma and bullshit going on that I actually really found it hard to, like, get my head into a space like I used to. And so that's why stuff like Sky Studio is so cool, or like going to like a float place, or Sky Studio is like, this is the place now. This is like,
we shouldn't talk about it too much. Everyone's going to go there.
I know we'll never get an appointment again, but it forces your head or your brain to go into these states, these levels, I used to go to float tanks, and you'd like work hard to get to theta with the sensor deprivation. Now this is just, you close your eyes, the lights flash in your eyes, and you're suddenly in like gamma and all these like you said, yeah, it's like 1,000 hours of meditation.
I went to float a couple recently. I'm like, oh wow, this is a lot. No, more work than because I used to go a couple years ago as well. I'm like, I have to work really hard to do that. I'm not under the light where I just get blasted.
Yeah. So it's cool. It's sort of training my brain to get into that state again. So now I find it easier when I actually just want to meditate at home. Because I'm like, okay, my brain has now been pushed with these flashing lights. I've got to interview Tina. Have you interviewed her about it?
No.
You should. We both should.
Yeah.
Because she does a great job of explaining, how the development of this light and how it affects your brain, and it's really cool.
So is it fair to say that your curiosity is going to continue to drive what you do next and how you angle your show and what you dig into and the events that you put on and who you bring together? Would you say it's mainly driven by your curiosity to find out, like spiritual curiosity? And I'm reading Reuben George right now. He's Tsleil-Waututh Nation, First Nation, and he wrote this incredible book that came out I think last year. But it's all about like the message over and over for the First Nation. It's like return to spirit, connect to spirit, connect to spirit. Everyone else is out of their minds. All these colonialism and everyone's settlers are all out of their mind. They're driven by all this crazy stuff. You can't even connect with them or look in their eyes. They have no idea what's going on with nature. And it's like return to spirit, return to nature, return to spirit, over and over and over. So would you say, like, for you to do that and teach that and understand that universe, spirit, whatever it may be, is that kind of driving, what you're talking about and who you're bringing together these days?
Yeah. I'm just curious about so many different things that I feel like I need to to have a successful podcast. I feel like I need to zero it in on at least a particular theme. I'm still figuring that out. I'm like, okay, what's my theme going to be? Because I'm sort of all over the place now. Like I interviewed a guy about remote viewing the other day.
What's remote viewing? Like,
well, it's people who have this ability, and they train their minds where they can go to this sort of meditation. And the government's been doing this for years. All governments around the world, they have these. They claim they're not anymore, but they will have these people who can visit any time and space, any. So they're looking for like the military has been like, we want to investigate a target. We want to find like the place we want to drop bombs on or something, or we're looking for like a terrorist or whatever. And so these remote viewers can like remotely use their minds to go and visit a place.
I know a woman in North Vancouver, Cindy, and she's done this to find a missing child in Kamloops or something. And she's real. I know her, and she's told me about this, and this happens. So it's
a real thing. So like that is fascinating.
Yeah.
Like, so I guess I love the whole mind, body, spirit type thing, living in the matrix type thing. Because like, how is that even like remote viewing is a real thing. The government spent hundreds of millions of dollars over the years with these programs, secret programs that are now publicly available. I just learned all this from this guy. I'm like, okay, so I'm into that, but I'm also into
parenting and relationships and things like that.
I'm so all over the map. Yeah. I'm just a crazy person. So, we'll see where my podcast goes.
Nice.
But maybe it's an amalgamation of all those sorts of topics.
I've purposely made this very, very loose. It's like influential leaders of Vancouver. I can talk to anyone. It's great.
See, that's good. So you got a theme though.
Right? I know. Man, I meditated on this in the summer, right? Whatever. You can do the same thing and whatever. We'll all figure it out. So all right. Now this is we have to come back and keep chatting and because we both have a lot to uncover and unpack and learn. And it's so fun, right?
Yeah.
Do you wake up some days like, wow, I get, and when you get to the end of the day and come to sometimes reflect back on what happened and who you talked to and what happened, your scooter got towed, but it was kind of fun. You went over there and you got the blaster down without a lid on. Then you came here and we did this and whatever else is going to happen later. It's kind of cool, right?
It's fun. I get to meet a lot of cool people. Yeah. Like, it's great because so many people grew up listening to me on the air. So like, man, the people I meet now, it always makes me feel old because they're like, oh, I was in the back seat. My mom would drive me to school. I'm like, oh my God, I got into radio very young. Okay. Yeah. But there's a lot of people now who are in influential places in the city that are like powerful people that are like, oh, I remember you, because they're like a little bit older than I am. And so I get a lot of doors open for me, a lot of cool conversations. Yeah. So yeah, man, I feel really lucky.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah,
and so let's talk about this event coming up December 16th. Mark Groves,
Deidre Sirianni, Dr. Suki.
Oh, Dr. Suki. Yeah, I don't know him, but I've heard quite a bit about him.
He's awesome. Oh, I do a great episode with him on my podcast. He talks about the nervous system, and how complex and amazing, just kind of the stuff we're talking about now. You should interview him, actually. He's great. Just how our nervous system takes information in and how we react. And it's like these computers that we're operating, these weird computer meat suits, whatever we're in. Okay. He's cool. He's speaking. And then Danielle Laporte is, it's going to be a lot of fun. So it's like a daytime thing. We did it December 16th so that it's a great day just to come and sort of help get some fresh ideas and thoughts and reminders about who you really are, connect with yourself. And it's all love.
Beautiful.
It's cool.
And we're gonna give away a ticket to that event.
Right? I did a horrible job pitching the event.
Well,
I'm not a salesperson.
We're all learning. It's whatever.
The website has a better description of that.
It's a day event with these 4 really impactful speakers. I mean, Mark Groves himself, like I've been following him since at least 6 years. He's got over 1.1 million real followers on Instagram.
He's a legend.
He's a source. I've never met him in person. Heard so many good things, but the intention is you have all these powerful speakers in the room that you've brought together. You know, it's not a huge event, so you get to meet often those events, the people that you meet and you're sitting at the table with are where the transformation happens, and the like-minded but also think differently, but like-minded in the sense that we're all curious and growing and looking to expand our minds and our hearts and feel more whole and complete. So it's something about pulling that together with the intention of kind of cracking us open a little bit, but piecing us back together and helping us all heal.
I love that word you just used, transformation. I love transformational content.
Yeah.
Where it's like you go somewhere, get a bunch of new ideas, and like it changes the course of your life. Because it just takes a seed of a certain thing. You go, oh my God, wow, this is possible. And then you're in the room with other people who share the same values. They're all into this sort of stuff. And you're like, oh my God, you meet your new bestie, or you just connect with people and
so share it, great. And we're going to give away a ticket. Okay. So if we're listening to this episode on Spotify or Apple or Google or YouTube, you share it on Instagram, on the internet, press the share button or take a screenshot, put it on there on your story, tag us. So, because otherwise we can't see. Otherwise we can't see, right? Yeah. We can't, so you share it and you tag it, and then you can go be in the room on December 16th with these amazing people and yourself, and kind of end the year off in possibility. I think it is like being curious and being open to what 2024 can bring for you. So share this podcast on social media to win a chance to win a ticket to December 16th event.
Amazing. You know, when you build yourself up, you have more to give to other people, right? And this is the time of year of connection, and holidays are kind of stressful.
Yeah.
You know, so at least for me.
Yeah.
So it's good to like feel good, feel empowered, get kind of realigned with yourself. And then suddenly you just cruise through the holidays, feeling good, ready to kick some ass in 2024. That's sort of the idea with the timing of this event.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. But no, I appreciate you and appreciate your courage, but you're sharing your curiosity, and you're kind of like, because when you're curious and you're learning about new things, we make mistakes and we kind of can look stupid sometimes. But most of us would kind of do that in private and not put ourselves out there. But if you're like, you're openly being curious, but using that and who you are and who you know to kind of accelerate your growth. So it's kind of fun.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, and you're sharing, and you're like, events aren't easy, right? So bringing people together, selling tickets, filling the room, but you're doing it out of an intention of your curiosity, but also to share your amazing people with others. This
is the event that I would want to attend. I'm like, I actually had lunch in Calgary, like, I don't know, a month or two ago with Danielle Laporte and Mark Groves by accident. I was walking by, we were at another event together, and they're like, kid, come have lunch with us. I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool. And I felt like I was, like I had access to the super, super VIP access ticket because, these two legends are sitting there, and And that's where the conversation started with, let's do an event in Vancouver. If you hold one, we'll come and speak. And I'm like, oh my God, guys, serious? Like, this is pretty cool. Yeah, like I'm such a huge fan of all these 4 speakers. So it's an honor to bring them together and get people in the room to experience them too. This has been fun, dude.
Yeah, well, we'll do it again.
We talked about it a lot.
Yeah. Well, let's wrap it here. But yeah, we can keep going. We can come back another time and do it for sure. Yeah, we have a lot. We have a lot to talk about.
Right.
Thank you.
Awesome, dude.
Anything else? Anything else that's lingering?
I don't think so. I could talk about anything for forever. The way we jam, I could sit here in this chair for hours and hours.
It's
talking about Crazy Town.
Well, we will do it again. It's made to be comfortable.
Right on, buddy. This is a good chair. I like the setup too. This is cool.
Well, we'll turn the fireplace on. It's getting kind of chilly. All right. Wrap.
Thanks, dude.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. That was fun.
Awesome. Thank you.